Peace be upon you. Happy New Year, and may God accept your obedience. Today I bring you a story that happened in the early 80s between a girl named Ahlam and a boy. Her uncle's name is Hamid. Ahlam and Hamid are cousins who live in Baghdad and are more important than wealthy families known at that time and neighbors as well whose homes were far from. Some people have had a love affair since adolescence between Ahlam and Hamid, but there was a big problem. It is very common between these two families, between the uncles. They are Abu Ahlam, the patriarch of the family, and his brother. The one who is Abu Hamid is younger than him after their father, who is the grandfather, died and left. They have an inheritance, and a dispute has arisen between them. Distribution of the estate, shares and shares. Ahlam, because he worked under the previous regime. He was one of the well-known leaders and had his place and authority. Likewise, he was greedy for the part of the lands that his brother inherited, and houses and other things, so he started blackmailing his brother and threatens to kill him and to browse you and use authority if he sells his share. You sell me your share at the price I set, and if you refuse, I will take all of this property. Against your will. The important thing is the brother who is Abu Hamid, because he's a little resourceful and doesn't have any problems at all. He can manage the property, so he said, I don't really mind. He sold his share to his brother, but for less than. Its price is very high, and from that past and disagreement has spread between how the two families broke off relations, and even the children no longer communicated with each other until one day. Days and a heart beats. Hamid after he had dreams of misfortune, the girl was destined. There was unparalleled beauty at that time. Everyone would break their necks as they watched her leave her house to go to school or not. Most likely, young people were often amazed at the beauty of dreams that were exposed to many. Harassment, in full view and hearing, from her cousin. Hamid, whose love for him was this girl, of course, was from one party. Someone she didn't know about loved her. And on top of that, he was jealous of a girl. His uncle, until he told her one day that he loved her, and that he was the most deserving person for her, and so was the girl. She had a feeling that this Hamid liked her, but he did not tell him frankly until that day about what happened. The situation is that she was harassed in the street, so she walked without him being the one to take her to school and her. She was in her last year of high school, and he was the one who would drive her back home if he approached. He moves away from his uncle's house so that he does not want problems, and it is impossible for his uncle to accept the existence of a relationship between his children and him. His nephews, the relationship ended years ago, and they were satisfied with the situation they were in. But Hamid felt that Ahlam also liked her. In it, her cousin was born, and the young man was also a professional and handsome young man. From the same family, the important thing is that they started exchanging each other messages, and they set an appointment via paper letters. Call, but if it is not in season, for example, school, summer vacation, or weekend, how can he deliver the paper letter to her? She knew that he meant to talk to her, so they found a way, and this was the best way there was. At that time they were called the messenger of love and passion. Who is Ahlam's brother? She is younger than her. She has a sister named Hind. She is 7 years younger than Ahlam, and this girl is still years old. The first year of study, and in the same stage, her cousin's daughters, who are in conflict with her father, are studying with her. But since this girl, Hind, was young, she was not aware of the extent of the dispute between them. Her father and her uncle used to visit her uncle's house and go to the girl's house. Her uncle means in the subject of studying in preparation. Assignments ask them for any help, meaning regarding studies and other things, and her cousins also go. They had a Tunisian woman, and they did not speak to her or object because they saw this as a young girl. She was guilty of the dispute that occurred, and she was his wife. Her uncle means she glimpses India, and she hates its goodness. 'Cause so are all women, His wife and his family's wives are sad for me. The one who left inherited from them and their share. And everyone is hateful. Everyone hates Abu Ahlam. But why? They were seeing Hind's little girl, but they were not talking about a little girl who had no fault in the matter. They were counting, but the reality of the matter was that there were many Hinds. Her visit to her uncle's house at the request of her older sister. Dreams also from Hamid used to go to Hamid. There, without realizing it, her uncle captured her and took him from her. She returns the letter to her home and gives it to her sister. Ahlam and Ahlam write a letter and return to deliver it. Hamid and no one doubts Hind, and the relationship is continuing, sends her a message. At such and such hour, stay at the phone because the phone is the home phone, so I will be afraid. If my uncle can pick up the phone or his aunt, then we go and wait at the phone and they talk. For long hours, Hind always helps them monitor. The years have passed. The years have come, and a day has passed. Days, an official's son will come. Big, and they were children of issues, and what big families. They teach them in any school, not in private schools for them and in a residential area. They are all big palaces and villas, as you know. After how many years? Ahlam graduated from high school, and after a while of studying, she sat in. Home as for Hamid, he entered the faculty of medicine and became a year old. Second, Ahlam became the one who goes to school to take her sister Hind and bring her back home always. She is the one who delivers it, and she is the one who returns it. She uses her sister's ride to meet Hamid at school, on the streets, etc., so that she has a reason to leave the house, and she does that. Today, Ahlam is going to Hind Nahaya's school. The school day is waiting for her, and this is not a big responsibility. He was also standing and waiting for his daughter, and seeing the beautiful, attractive dreams of this girl. Indeed, this important girl approached her and asked her, "Are you waiting?" Mino said, "I am waiting for my sister who is younger than me." He asked her, "Are you a girl? What is your name?" "Your father. What is your family name?" She said to her, "My father is so-and-so, so-and-so. Her father is also one of the leaders. I knew one of the Baathist leaders at that time, and he was also a great leader." At the party, when Hind came out and her sister took her. Ahlam and the leader took his daughter along to communicate with Abu. Ahlam, hello, how are you? What's the news? Okay, God willing. He said, listen to me. I have it. My son, this man, is also an officer as he wishes. God, things are good. He has a house, and we are looking for a halal girl for him, and I saw. Your daughter has dreams at school, and she takes her sister, and the girl, God willing, is polite, and you are from a family. It is known that you are still a friend and colleague, and we want the girl. For our son, they said, by God, this is a blessed hour. If he does not agree, he will agree, because this is forced upon him. A very senior leader, and he really needs to get closer to him. This girl has grown up and is about to get married. Why not? He told him never. We have no objection, and this leader goes and gets his son. He told him, come, by God. I found a girl for you who dreams of seeing her beauty. Her paper is from a very well-known, wealthy family, and her father is one of the leaders and colleagues of ours. We trust them. The boy told him, we trust in God, and they left. In an official speech to Abu Ahlam's house, he receives them and welcome. Hello, welcome to Ahlam about the topic, of course. Her father has no way of treating her, and the girl has a right. Choice, and this is all talk. Never. Above all, where can you find a young man with these specifications? This leader's son is wealthy and a very old and young leader. And an officer. I mean, why do you refuse him on any basis? The girl was afraid and said, oh, can you give it to me? Opportunity, and he said, I did not ask them for 2 weeks to give them news. These 2 weeks, I'm just kind of following the family routine. We agree at length, even if we basically agree, but this is something known, not because it gives you a chance to. You are thinking, yes, no, no, my love. You are angry. You will say yes, and this boy is an officer. And so he started praising him and the girl. She was confused now. What should she say to her father? Tell him, by God, I am not a father because my father is my cousin's son. Basically, there is an old problem between the two families, and this continues until now in the second year of college. Medicine as well as his status means because their financial situation. It deteriorated after they lost most of their property, so they are spiteful towards Abu Ahlam, who only owns the luxurious house they have been living in for a long time is what they own in their lives. It takes years for a boy to graduate, become qualified, and become himself an Ahlam. Her wise mind said, then I will follow. I will lose my heart. I will lose everything. I will lose my father. I will lose my family. I will lose this officer who approached me. Then my cousin's son is just talking, and I don't know if he believes me or not. She replied to her father and told him that she agreed. She apologized to Hamid in a letter she sent to her sister Hind, telling him to excuse me. I can return my father, and you know, and you do not have the ability to save me. In this situation, you come to marry me. You are already struggling with your college expenses, medical school, and you have a long way to go until you graduate. And you get hired, I will see myself, and you will see how you are. He was upset and annoyed, but he couldn't speak or broach the topic, and that was the case. He is helpless in the face of material matters, and even in front of his situation, or his relationship with his uncle himself. He left her, and Ahlam married and lived in a palace. God blessed her with 3 children, and she went away for years and came back for years to come back to. Hind. After her sister's marriage, their relationship ended. At her uncle's house, the end of what happened between her and the girls. Her uncle or cousin, Hamid, has no contact, and she has no role. Above all, their father sold the house. He was in it and bought them another palace in a distant area on the outskirts. Baghdad, and that's it. The relationship ended and went away for years. Hind grew up and went to medical school. She graduated and was a doctor, distinguished in surgical operations, and in 1998, a conference took place, medical in Amman, Jordan. Hind was among the invitees in Hull. The conference, and there she met her cousin Hamid. Hamid was also a doctor, and he was also very smart. She was old and present at the same conference. She met her cousin. "Hello, Hamid. How are you?" "God willing. I heard that you have become a doctor." "Likewise. May God grant you success, and you deserve it. You are a smart girl, and from this and that. And because you know the previous relationship and the crow, and the love and passion that existed between her sister and her cousin." So she answered him and said to him, "You know that my sister, Ahlam, got married and lived in such and such a place and stayed with him. Children." He said that he was really upset and was hateful towards her. But that means he didn't like that anymore. These years, he told her sister, "By God, I am sad." He said, "May God protect him." She told him, "You don't know." He said, "No." She said, "I got divorced and came back to live with us in a house. My father, along with her 3 children, said she really deserved it. She deserved what happened to her." She told him why. "Ava, before you loved each other, I used to take these messages from you and give her a seat." She remembers him telling her, "Yes, it is true, but this is the past." It ended in a moment when she agreed to marry his son. This wealthy family, the son of the leader, the son of such and such, abandoned me and my love for them and ran after me. Fame and money, and I was her cousin. She left me and said no, no. And believe me, she always responds well to your conduct. He said to her, "What is the benefit in the first place?" She said to him, "Nice, why don't you bring me back? At least say hello to her." So she remains your cousin and he stays. It means there is an old relationship between you, and he told him no. Impossible. Then if you are thinking that because she got divorced and had children, it is possible. I am thinking that I will get involved with her again. As this is impossible, and then we will see this past. How are you? What's up with you? Good, God willing. Where are you going? Where are you staying? In which hotel? She said, so-and-so's hotel. The important thing is that they spent 3 days in Amman every night. They meet each other. Once he invites her to a restaurant, and sometimes he takes her for a walk. This place is where I am. Pay attention, Muhammad Ali. The thing is that, by God, Hind also means a beautiful girl, and his doctor and the same intellectual level. Alalemi, as well as this, his cousin, who is 7 years younger than him. For years, the girl has not yet married, so he started asking her, why didn't you marry Hind? I mean, is it possible that no one approached you? She said, I swear. A lot, but I insisted that I continue my studies and that I care about my life, meaning academics, and then, he decided. He told her, okay, where do you work in Iraq? We can communicate with each other. She said to me, on the contrary, and you are dear to me, and you are my cousin. And from these words they returned to Iraq, and he was trying to strengthen his relationship with Hind Kull. He visited her every once in a while, and went to her one day because one time she was asking him about the topic of how to present scientific research, meaning he was older than her and he had it. He had more experience in the field than her, so he used to use the subject as an excuse, so he went to her and arranged arrangements with her. The subject of his book was the research and the method of submission, and he told her, print the papers and present them to the person who helped her with this matter, and she obtained a kit. Testimonials through the research he helped her with, but every day about. Second, the relationship between Hamid and Hind strengthens. Hind, the relationship was more like a brother than a friendship. She never thought that Hamid was thinking about her. Like his future wife, Hamid was waiting for the moment. The occasion is that he opened up to Hind about the matter, and in fact that day he told her, Indians, I want to tell you something. Please sit down. Hamid told her, Indian, my heart, I love you. She told him what? He said, I love you. Is it possible that you did not understand? Is it possible that I did not feel all of this during the past period? It means that I like you. And then why? I am surprised to see that you are my cousin, and we are adults and educated people, and this is not a shame, and I mean honorable, your father, according to the Sunnah of God and his messenger. She said, by God, oh, Hamid, you surprised me. I never meant to look at you this way. I love you. I respect and appreciate you, and I know you as a very sophisticated and respectable person. But you, as a husband, never crossed my mind. Then, Hamid, you are my sister's ex-lover. So between you and my sister, a relationship, and the tragedy is that I was the messenger between you, and I know everything between you and my sister. How do you want to get involved with you now? He said to her, Hind, the topic of love was between me and your sister when I was a teenager. Then your sister got married, and now she has children, and I had no relationship with her. And then it was just casual love, that is, from afar. for a long time. We were not able to communicate with each other, and then she is my cousin and you're my cousin. What? The problem is that I did not ask for anything wrong. I am your father. You are following the Sunnah of God and His Messenger. I love you and your father. That's it. It is possible, in our hands, to restore the relationship between the two families. These years have passed, and now we are here. We are the adults who can fix the situation. She told him, "Let me think about the matter." I swear, Hamid, I don't know what to say to you. He told her, "There is no problem, 1 day, 2 days, 3 days until it ferments. This idea is in Hein's head. Hein says so, I swear. It is true. I mean, there is nothing between him and my sister now, and it is old talk, and my sister got married and lived her life. He remains my cousin's son, so I returned him, with the consent, and they lived the most beautiful love story of the doctor. Hamid and Dr. Hind are doing well for you on the opening day. The family and the story of the love between them, and that he wanted to marry her, and they were the two families. We reject the mother and his father, and we do not take anything from the family, and we have a disagreement. The second family says the same thing. Hamid forced them, and Hind forced him to do so. They are subject to the decision of their marriage, even if this happened between you. It's old, and we remain today's children. And that's it for when the world is gone, and you know what that means is the end. In the 90s, things were on the verge of, in Iraq and in neighboring countries, in the year 90, what was the invasion on? Kuwait, and entering the Desert Storm battle with many casualties meant that the world was like a loss. In the Arab community, that's it, leave. The topic of family problems aside, we remain cousins and we are like that. They said okay and agreed to the marriage. Hind is from her cousin, Dr. Hamid, and she lived in a house, and God willing, after the two of them, they were two doctors. She was a surgeon and he was a doctor. It's internal, I think, or something like that. The important thing is that you didn't live long and their lives were very long. Happy, but Hind started. She notices some changes in the style of Hamid and her sister. After the two families got together, it was normal after the issue of marriage. Ahlam used to come and say hello to Hamid. How are you and what's up with you? And in the beginning, of course, it was Ahlam. I am upset about how Hind took Hamid, whom I used to love, but she started telling herself right, meaning me. What is my relationship to the matter? I got married and left him and the child in the first place. He hated me because I had no job, so my sister wanted to marry her, so she was silent, but when she married her sister, Hamid and Hamid began visiting them, and the two families visited and saw each other, which became dreams. You approach Hamid and say hello to him. How are you? What news has happened? You talk to him for a long time, and Hamid was the one who used to say that Hind was right. I'm angry with her and hate her because she left me like that in the first place. He saw dreams and became relaxed throughout the dreams. The more you grow, the more beautiful you are, even at a wedding. Her sister was wearing white with white, no surroundings. The girl's crown is as if she wants to conquer her sister. Hindahlum, even though she got married, had children, divorced, and returned, she remains the most beautiful girls in the family, even the guests who attended the party. The wedding is getting lost. They don't know who is the bride, Hind, or her sister, Ahlum. He was wearing white and a crown, and they were surprised, as was he. This move was intentional as a result of Ahlum, who wants to take revenge on her sister Hind. The one who took her lover was careful. Hind said it was not possible. The topic was a coincidence, and then the meetings happened. There is a lot of conflict between her sister Ahlum and her husband. Hamid became busy at times in operations, in some seminars or travel. He worked, and she used to call the house and talk to her friend. She asks her who is in the house. She says there is no, but your sister is there and your father is there. What about her sister Ahlum? And Hamid? So even the maid started working for Hind like a spy whenever she returned from traveling. She came back from a mission and asked her what happened to her every afternoon. Your sister is here and comes out at night the whole time you are away. The house is where Hind made sure he was in. The relationship between her sister and Hamid, especially since she was living through the period of love that existed between them. The important thing is what happened. She is keen that she discovers that she is watching her husband and her sister. One day, her husband told her that she was going out, meaning she would not come back until 2 days later because she will live in such and such a hotel, which is located outside Baghdad, meaning she has an important and loyal mission. Also, the important thing is that she arranged an excuse for him that she would be absent for 2 days. He told her that you will not see the evil of the monastery. Take care of yourself, my love. She said to him, okay, okay. She went out and started watching the house. Isn't this her husband? He got out of the house, got into his car and headed to someone. Buildings. He stopped his car, got out, and opened the door to his apartment. With the key he was carrying, I waited a while. She waited for a quarter of an hour and then started knocking on the door. You knock on the door and hear a voice in a woman's voice and in a voice. A man who first felt that her husband was rushing into the apartment. There was a woman with him who said, "Why should I ruin myself?" She ran away and got back into her car. Of course, you watch as Hamid comes out of the apartment, looking around for whoever knocked on the door. No one has entered. To the apartment after an hour, 2 hours, and Hamid comes out the building and he gets into the car and walks for a while and does not see her sister. Ahlum stood on the street and took a taxi. Ahlum was surprised by her sister. She has a car, but the plan was always that if she came to the building, leaves her car in a remote area and takes a taxi to take her to the building. Is it possible for someone to pass the building and not see Hamid's car or Ahlum's car? Even this one. Their plan was to follow her sister in the taxi and get her to her car in a second area. She took her car and returned. She said she would go home and rented a hotel because he told her husband 2 days. The second day she started calling me. The house is up to the maid. Where is Daddy? She tells her, Daddy is here, meaning he is getting dressed and looking like this. She said as soon as he left the house, inform me about this important number, and the maid would inform her that he had left. From the door, and she goes to him. Where did she go? To the same apartment or not? This one was standing at the building and entered. She said, Okay, this is the apartment. It seems they have rented it. To meet someone between them and go to the doctor or doctor. Hind brings her a jar. Decorate and open the jar. You pour gasoline from under the door through the opening under the door. In a slanted manner, meaning it is tilted, so that the gasoline enters. The apartment completely emptied the jar from under the door, and now it is empty. The apartment was soaked in gasoline. This is evidence that Hamid and Ahlam they weren't in the hall, they were in the bedroom they didn't notice. Gasoline rises and starts a fire. Moments later, the apartment became as if it were a hot oven, and the fire is intense. Windows and smoke started exploding from the outside. Mounts and the door is fond and pay attention. Hamid and Ahlam were on fire late after the fire reached the lower bedroom. Charred, they are in another world. The important thing is that the firefighters rush and the neighbors are screaming. Likewise, it is unfortunate for Hamid that he is ruined. There was no window in the bedroom at all. Just open the air conditioning, which is what you know, window air conditioning, square air conditioning. He tried to get out through the hall or apartment. From the main door, the world was charred, and the fire was still inside them. The bedroom seemed to be suffocating by smoke, and he found that the appropriate way is to remove the air conditioner from the square wall, this window. He breaks the box and he jumps, and dreams of this opening, but the topic is It is difficult when the air conditioner removes the box, and it does not come out unless it opens from its place. Smoke rises and fire enters and paralyzes them. They were paralyzed by fire while they were screaming. They try and scream in the last moments, but no men enter them. The firefighters put out the fire and put them in a coma from smoke inhalation, but they suffered from degree burns. The first important thing was how long it took them to take them to the hospital, and the first report was about a cause. The fire is clearly marked by the presence of a rapidly flammable substance and the beginning of the fire. It was from the door, the outer door, if it is a subject. The important thing is the doctor, Hamid, and his lover, Ahlam Bint. His uncle is in the same hospital undergoing surgeries. Rapid intervention, and they were put into a coma. The important thing is to appreciate that they are. He saves them as they try to find out who burned the apartment, and these people had a relationship with each other when they started. The investigation is not with his cousin. This cousin of his is divorced, and this lover is married to her sister, his cousin. Secondly, they said that we are facing marital betrayal. It is certain that this perpetrator is at large. Ahlam or she will be Hamid's wife on the day they ask, and Ahlam is not divorced and wants to be a leader. Kabir has a reason or excuse for his whereabouts during the incident. The fire is actually a faraway place, so there is no problem at all between it and Ahlam. He divorced her and does not want to see her if the second accused is dead. They brought Dr. Hind even though they were originally excluded. A doctor, and felt that her husband was cheating on her with his cousin. Who is her sister? He replied, and they told him, "By God, we will inform you of the news about your husband now. He is in a critical condition, and what is life and death?" And this is how it became represented to them. He said to him, "By God, we are the one who is in trouble. Your sister had reasonable dreams with him. It is forbidden for you to accuse." My husband was surprised and told her, "What does that mean?" "You know what I heard about the husband. Where have you been all day?" The same applies to the girl, who was very nervous. She was afraid that they would discover that she was the one who did it. She even denied knowing the news of the fire. The whole world went around, which is reasonable when they asked Hamid's family and asked. Ahlam people do not have any information from the first hours of the accident. What is the meaning of Hind Mon? She is the wife of Hamid Hani. They felt that there was something in the girl, or that she was trying to. She denies. They asked her, "Where were you this morning on that particular day?" She said, "I was on a work trip." "Where is the work trip?" They asked. By God, she doesn't have it and is staying in a hotel in Central Baghdad 2 days ago. And on what basis are you? Where are you going? Why didn't you return home when they surrounded her with all this evidence and she slowed down? Al-Jarba confesses the whole story and says that there was a love relationship between them. My sister left him and married a leader's son, and after that, he had 3 children. I got divorced and returned home, and he met me at a medical conference and we got to know each other. We had a relationship and got married, and she started playing with my husband. In my opinion, she was taking advantage of my marriage as a means of getting closer from her old lover and possibly his father-in-law. This is when he married Hind. It was his, a goal that he is once again approaching. Ahlam may want Ahlam, but he does not want to marry Ahlam. Ahlam has children like her, but she liked a girl who was fire, meaning fire and drink. Frankly, us. We have nothing to do with the topic, but this is the story, which means I am just conveying the story. What matters is what you do. Long after Hind confessed, they sentenced her to 7 years in prison because of the injuries that occurred. In Hamid and in her sister Ahlam, she was complete deformities of the head to toe they were. They have injuries that are so severe that they are benign. They amputated a group of fingers on his hand that was dead due to the fire. So he sat down, which means he became unable to move. He became deformed and needed care, as well as her beautiful sister, the mother of the crown. This one became. She just needs someone to drink water and give her something. Medicines and medicines, you honor pigeons. There is no power or strength except with God. This is what but it was released in 2002. The ruling is a general amnesty for all prisoners. Among those sentenced was Hind, who was just beginning to implement it. Due to the sentence imposed on her, she was pardoned and released, and immediately left Iraq for Jordan. From Jordan, it was able to reach one of the European countries, and to date India is considered one of the largest. Surgeons and hospitals there, and she lives her life in salvation. And this is the end of our past and in safety. God bless you.